We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddie. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen, and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and secretary of the PGA of America, Don Rea.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the September 2022 episode of Golf Business Live, powered by our friends at Club Caddie. Thank you, Club Caddie. We always appreciate your support. And I'm Jay Karen, CEO of NGCOA. We've got Don Rea, Secretary of the PGA. For another, 50-something days? You're going to be vice president soon, my man.
43 days, Jay, 43. And then I'm in charge of the finances for the PGA. You better look out, man. I'm gonna start spending money on growing the game. It's gonna be amazing.
Wow, that's fantastic. Unless, of course, there's some kind of privately planned coup d'etat in the office or elections coming up. Is it? Can I start a rumor?
Well, we're a very democratic association. You can run from the floor, so you're right. Somebody could jump from the floor and I wouldn't win by acclamation. I'd have to beat somebody, but I'll take my chances on that. I think I've done a good 2 years, so I've got a lot more planned. So we'll see. That's but right. I do love the fact that you could run from the floor. It's very democratic.
That is. You've gotten me something to think about now. But no, seriously, I look forward to seeing you in Phoenix, Scottsdale in November. I'll be attending the event and look forward to seeing the change of officers and all that's going on in the PGA of America. Speaking of which, I saw that you were in London recently. I think maybe you were there during the Queen's passing. Why were you in London? What was going on? Talk to us.
It's called the PGA Cup. It started in 1972, and it's like the Ryder Cup, except we play the club professionals of Great Britain and Ireland. So believe it or not, nobody was getting paid, even the coaches, and we were just playing there for the Ryder Cup. So it's a really cool event where, out of the 28,000 members of the PGA of America, through section championships, the national championship, you get points and you make the team of 10. Susie Whaley, our honorary president, was the captain of that team. And on the other side, they have their 10 members, Great Britain and Ireland, 8,000 members over there, Great Britain and Ireland. Tremendous relationship with them. David Russell was their team captain. And it was a great, opportunity to spend time with the PGA GB&I guys, Alan White, who's the president, Robert Maxfield, and talk about what they're dealing with and what we're dealing with, which is the same exact thing. But it was all of the PGA Cup's been going on, like I said, since 1973, technically. But it's we won 15.5 to 10.5. Wow, making it happen. Some of those guys on the GB&I team, they played on the European Tour a little bit, but we beat them. We had a great match, and but it was just to tag on that a little bit about the Queen passing, really amazing, Jay, to be over there because they love their Queen, and I think some in America would say, well, what does the royalty really do over there? I would tell you that it is like the connective tissue of that country. A lot of them, they've only known one Queen, right? I mean, 70 years. What an amazing thing. And she was basically, how we've talked before about a business should have a why, an association should have a why. Man, all they had was 24 hours a day was Queen Elizabeth and the things she had done and an amazing life that she had lived. And every Uber driver wanted to talk about the Queen. And it was just really cool. It basically really brought that country back to kind of what they're about and having a lot of pride in history, having a lot of pride in the little things that she would say that I would say she took the high road on every type of thing that happened in her family and outside of it and for her country. But it was really, really cool to be there to just kind of experience that country mourning the death of their Queen and then the funeral on Monday. I was flying out that day. Thankfully, I thought the flight we had canceled for sure, but it was just cool. They did 4 times when we were there. They did 2 minutes of silence, the whole country. In every restaurant and in the airport, 2 minutes is a long time. But it was very cool to see a whole country kind of remember who they were. Really cool.
Wow. Yeah. I was a history major, got my master's in history. So I certainly have appreciation for this. And I couldn't help but think during the funeral itself, thinking, to me, she feels like the last connection to the World War II era for us, in the sense that now that she's gone, like we're untethered from, even though history is an arc and it continues and so forth, but I feel like now we're a bit untethered from that generation. That was like the last, thread of living connection to that, even though there are some World War II vets that are still alive, although it won't be much longer for that entire generation. But certainly it's definitely a moment in time that, we all had to reflect upon. So interesting timing that you were there. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, from Truman to Biden, right? That's truly amazing. And then I watched on the plane a movie about Winston Churchill, basically, when the war was starting, called The Darkest Hour. Just fascinating. Yeah. She spanned a lot of decades.
Yeah. Well, so changing topics on here, but I see on a couple social media posts some Toptracer range progression at Augusta Ranch there in Mesa. How's it going? When's the grand opening, and what other hiccups have you encountered in that process?
Well, there's always hiccups, and that's okay, because you know what? If you're going to be on the hood of the car, you're going to take some bugs in the windshield. That's okay. I don't mind. I've always enjoyed being that person. But I'll tell you what. Yeah, I've been on a bunch of radio shows, being secretary, and all they want to talk about is the millions of dollars that these men and women are playing golf for. And all I want to talk about is the millions of men and women that are playing golf. I mean, why do we get dragged into this discussion about money when this game has never been growing? But the people who are just looking at my building and they're so excited to bring their friends. I mean, that's kind of what Topgolf is, right? 60% of the people aren't golfers. That means 30, 40% of them are golfers, and they probably brought the non-golfers to Topgolf. And Toptracer, believe it or not, is better than Topgolf. Toptracer uses Topgolf uses that little chip that goes in the targets. Toptracer's tracking the ball. So they're putting up the cameras now. All the electrical's in. We tested the lights the other day. No phone calls from any homeowners, but I'm sure they're coming. But they're putting in the cameras. Really excited. Pavers next week. Certainly, yeah. The funniest story is they had to jackhammer some concrete to get this additional electrical conduit out there. And the GC just approved for them to do it over the weekend. He literally said, "I thought you guys were closed on the weekends." But, dude, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? I'm a golf course, and my general contractor says, "Yeah, I thought you were closed on the weekends, Don." But other than that, it's going smooth. I'm telling you, it is the future, the excitement of golfers and non-golfers. I'll keep you more updated. I'm going to do another social media post when I get back from Carlsbad on Saturday and turn the lights on and show everybody what's going on. But we couldn't be more excited.
That's good. When I saw the footage, I was actually shocked at how large the structure is at your building. That is no joke. That is a bona fide structure that, it's not coming down. It's big.
Hey, a monsoon hit it the very next day. We had 10 trees get knocked down in a monsoon a week later. And believe me, I was like, are the bays standing? And the bays are standing. But, that's what's cool about it. Everybody's walking around and talking about it. And it's legit, man. I'm telling you, this Toptracer thing, you should be your own funnel. And the first way if you're relying on I know John's going to cover this, third-party provider bringing you golfers, they're bringing you golfers from other golf courses. You want to create golfers, you'll do Toptracer, and you'll bring golfers to your facility and then convert them, non-golfers to your facility, and convert them to golfers.
Yeah, I got to say, NGCOA just partnered with Toptracer this summer, so that was a neat announcement. I got to say, my little plug on this is that, when I'm at Topgolf, whatever the function is, whether it's a party or, just the family, we've got nothing to do in Denver, so let's stop over at Topgolf or whatever. After an hour, I'm done. I had some good beer, had some good food, hit a ball every 10 minutes, because we're rotating, family members hitting balls or whatever. It's like, okay, after an hour, that was okay. After 1 hour on a Toptracer range facility at Palmetto Dunes Resort down in Hilton Head, I was like, I want another hour of this. This was not enough. It was so fun because as a golfer, for me, this is probably the difference between a golfer and non-golfer on the Toptracer versus maybe Topgolf a little bit, is that as a golfer, it's more visceral as a real golf experience. So you're hitting on turf. You're hitting on, you're at ground level, not at a concrete bay to, 30 feet up. And you still get the satisfaction of, the gamification of it, but also you can pull out your driver and just see how far you're hitting the damn thing in the Toptracer, and where you can't, that's not what you're doing at Topgolf. You got a net on the back and there's no value in hitting it far, where I just was having a ball with my, at the time he was 15-year-old, and we just couldn't get enough of it. So that's, to me, that is the difference. That is the big difference here. So I agree with the promise of what that can do for your business versus, hoping that Topgolf is going to send some golfers your way.
Well, and I think too, simulators, we've talked about that. A lot of colder climates are doing simulators. This is literally the next step, because you can play Pebble Beach on Toptracer. You pick out a target, and that's the middle of your fairway, and then you play the golf course. And when you go to putt, you do little chip shots. It's really cool and unique how they do it. It's very innovative. And so I think it's the perfect, if Topgolf was the gateway drug, well, then Toptracer is going to bring them here to be a golfer, man. And I'm excited. I don't know if they want to be called a gateway drug, but I'm telling you, I love what Topgolf's done, and that brand to drive it down to me, I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, the gateway experience. This is good.
Gateway experience.
In a little bit, we're going to bring on guests on our show, John Brown and Lee Arroyo from GreatLIFE Golf. So we look forward to a nice chat with them. But before we get to them, a couple of housekeeping and NGCOA industry issues just to update folks about. One is, if they didn't catch my little LinkedIn post and an email that we sent out to the industry, some interesting news on the justice side of our world. And that the company ETS, the credit card processing company that had thousands of golf course clients over many, 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 many years, were recently bought, maybe a couple of years ago now, by Elevon, one of the largest merchant processing companies in the world. Looks like the behavior of their leadership, which as we know, they dipped their hands into the bank accounts of golf courses through fraudulent fees and all this kind of stuff for years and years. Looks like it finally caught up to them. And we the NGCOA, attempted a class action suit. We attempted to getting the Department of Treasury to go after them. And when the FBI knocked on our door, interested in the case, we certainly helped them out there. But their leadership, their CEO, and others were actually arrested several weeks ago and spent some time in jail. Got out on bail, from what we understand, but they've been indicted by the FBI for the fraudulent activity. That millions and millions and millions of dollars of fraudulent activity. So that's satisfying news in the sense of justice, for sure. So we were pleased to see the update on that. We'll keep people posted on if there is any chance of financial restitution to the victims, because they sold the company for something like $130 million to Elevon, and so they pocketed a lot of cash. So we're still trying to figure out, and we're in touch with the FBI about what financial restitution could be for victims. I can't imagine what the work will be involved to figure out what that is, who deserves what, how much was stolen from whom, because it's, trying to read merchant processing statements to determine what was taken from you is like reading, a combination of Hebrew and Greek, if all you know is English. And so we'll keep the industry posted on that.
I got to say something real quick, Jay. And believe me, I got some money coming. He got me too. But remember, even on their velocity filters, remember when they got me and somebody who was trying to run credit cards through there, and they hit me with all those fees on the velocity filters? Nobody. I called the state of Arizona. They couldn't help me. Guess who helped me? The NGCOA. You guys, remember, we rallied the troops really quickly on that velocity filter thing and got it fixed, because it hits not everybody, but just enough. For tens of thousands of dollars. But the NGCOA, if you're not a member of the NGCOA, you are making a huge mistake. It is the greatest. It's more than an insurance plan, but it is. It's an advocacy and insurance plan to protect your business, especially as a small guy, because I don't have a management company. And so when they were hammering me for, I think it was $18,000, they got me in velocity filter fees because there was no velocity filter on the ETS software. Got smoked. NGCOA got me the money back. That's a fact.
Yeah. This is when hackers got into the bank accounts and would pull a $10,000 or $20,000 amount out, and it wouldn't show up on the merchant processing statement, but it showed up. If you looked at your bank records, you'd see this withdrawal, but you would think, what is this withdrawal? It's a typical withdrawal. And so it added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars that the merchant processing company said, well, we didn't do it. We didn't take that money. It was the hackers, but it was in your technology where it happened. And they did pay back all that had been taken after much.
Not on mine. Mine wasn't that way, Jay. Mine was because they were running thousands of checks on gift cards. They were running up fees. So the hackers never got any money from me. It was all the fees that ETS was charging me because thousands of transactions were attempting to run, and I was getting charged for all of them. Yeah, it was jacked up. Yeah, but it was. But you're right, they're hackers too. But who came to my defense? Jay and the team at the NGCOA.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Don. Couple of other real quick pitches. We just announced that registration is open for the Golf Business Conference coming up this January at the PGA show. We encourage people to register, bring your teams to the Golf Business Conference. It's going to be a great event. We're still crafting the agenda, but check it out, golfbusinessconference.com, and look out for who we add as speakers to the event. But we want to see you in Orlando at the PGA show and the Golf Business Conference. It's going to be a really good event. We got some interesting things up our sleeve to deliver at that event. So stay tuned on that. Also, this is, I know you love this topic, Don, but last week, I think we sent out an email for our members and non-members actually to take a survey. Let us know, how do you guys feel about the whole data benchmarking, rounds, revenue, occupancy, compare your results to those around you in your market, the whole thing, because, we continue to get approached by really, good people in our industry that are trying to make these things work, whether it's Pellucid or Sagacity. And we've got some others that are entering the marketplace. And, these are believers that we need this information, but nobody has really succeeded from a mass participation standpoint, from day one. We've never been able to sustain serious participation. We're talking thousands of courses when you got the hotel market and others that live and die by these reports. And so we sent out a survey asking, how do you feel about this? Why do you like it? Or why are you not participating? Let's take the temperature of the course owners and operators out there, but how they feel about this. What would you pay for? What do you value in this? And let us know. And the survey is still open until midnight tomorrow. If you take a look, I think Taylor is putting into the comments box a link to the survey. So we'd love for you to take that survey and let us know how you feel. What is your sentiment about benchmarking and data? And ultimately, we're trying to figure out, if you don't care about this, why is it that you don't care about information? Don, I don't know if you have any comment on that, but certainly would love to hear.
I mean, do you want blood work or not? I mean, you can walk around feeling like you're good. And I'm pretty healthy. Everything's good. Are you going to go to the doctor? You're going to get blood work to see where your cholesterol is, see what's going on with your blood pressure. That's all that data is. You can beat your chest all you want, but until you get the blood work to say this is what's wrong with you, because there's people charging more, that's great, but their occupancy's jacked up. They don't know what RevPAR stands for. At the end of the day, you also can use that data to measure your performance against your competitive rate set, because budgets are blown up. They're going to change now because of the economy. So if you're not measuring yourself against the competition, it's like playing in a golf tournament, and it doesn't matter who wins. You just have to beat par. That's not what competition is. And that's why I really believe in the data. And I hope and pray, that the survey comes back that people actually care about the blood work so they can get better, because they don't even know they're sick. And there's a bunch of them that are sick. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. And last plug before we bring on our special guest is that NGCOA recently announced that we have a partnership with About Golf Simulators. And so to carry that golf entertainment, business prospect even further, we got Toptracer range. Now we've got About Golf Simulators. Large company, great product, and members get a free 2-year subscription on their software package to get all the courses and gamification, all that kind of stuff if you purchase one of their simulators. And we actually encourage the purchase of multiple to build a business around it. It's like trying to open up a bowling alley and having one alley. That's not really a business, right? Put in a few, build a real golf entertainment business around this, because those simulators, they're fun as hell. They're so fun. And I'm still very bullish on this. And, these things, simulators, outdoor this is going to be ubiquitous in the years to come in the golf industry. And I'm encouraging green grass course owners and operators to capture this before those that want to put these in retail spaces across the street capture it for you or instead of you. So very bullish on this. Otherwise, we wouldn't really be seeking out these kinds of partnerships, encouraging our members to move forward in this direction. So that's an exciting partnership I wanted to let folks know about. Okay, it is time to bring on our guests, John Brown and Lee Arroyo from GreatLIFE Golf. Hey, there we are. Hey, guys, how you doing?
Great to be here.
John, it's been 2 years, over 2 years since we've had you on Golf Business Live. You were one of our first guests when the pandemic has started to wreak havoc on our world and our industry. We brought you on to talk shop, and 2.5 years later, a lot has changed in our industry and with you and your company. And the reason we said, hey, let's bring John back on was because of the recent announcement of the merger between Brown Golf and GreatLIFE. And so, maybe kick this off a little bit by telling our audience, reminding folks who you are, what your background is, and Lee as well, because both of you are now in this together, but you come from very different backgrounds. I think both add a lot to this new venture. So talk to us a little bit about who you are and why this merger.
Well, I'm John Brown. I was formerly the CEO of Brown Golf Management, a company that started in January of 2011 with my father and my brother. And we started out of a home office. We had a business plan. We had a venture capital source. We were going to go out and buy golf courses. Our venture capital partner was going to own the land, and we were going to have long-term leases. And based off that business plan, that'll wire you a certain way. That way is figure out how to make the bottom line work, right? How to reinvest in your assets. And that's really our DNA. Our DNA is the same in GreatLIFE as well. And super excited about the opportunity with GreatLIFE. There's 3 owners on the GreatLIFE side and 3 from the Brown side. Lee, who's on the call here today, joined our company in 2019, early in 2019, but he's been a mentor of mine for 10 years. Actually, in a past lifetime, I briefly worked for Lee when I stepped out of golf for about half a minute. And, and when I told him I made a huge mistake, he didn't throw me out. He said, I can see that. And we stayed in touch, and he joined our company, and he's a great asset to have. And we're both really excited about GreatLIFE. I'll pass it over to you, Lee.
Sure. Thanks, John. So yes, he did work for me for about a minute. My background really is I graduated from Southern Illinois University and joined the U.S. Navy, where I did supply and logistics, right? Supply chain's all over the news today. Well, I've been living supply chain since a long time ago. After that, I had the privilege of commissioning the USS Kearsarge while I was in the Navy. Left the Navy to work in pharmaceuticals, implementing technologies that were Y2K compliant. Don, I heard you say in an earlier podcast something about there was a time when you were faxing in T-sheets. I lived that world when we were doing EDI interchanges between companies. In late 90s, I started preaching something called the web, right? Something that not many people knew about, but it was out there. And it was always that last mile, the last mile. How do you solve for that last mile in order to transition or transfer the data that you require between yourself and your suppliers? Well, joining John on this venture and doing some of the things that he's doing in disrupting the industry in a positive way is something that I do see value in. And obviously, when we did the diligence around this merger with GreatLIFE, they have a lot of the same core values that we have. And I think that it's a great addition to what we do and what they do. And together, 1 + 1, in this case, will equal 3 or more.
You got to love that math. All right, so just a reminder to the folks watching, if you have questions for Lee or John or all of us, use your comment section and it will surface those to the show for sure. Okay, thanks for that, guys. As the supply chain, I know we're going to have questions for you, Lee, on the supply chain stuff in a little bit. So talk to me about how you guys came into contact with GreatLIFE. And this is a big deal, right? To grow, and now you got, I think, 53 properties in your controlled portfolio, if you will, which makes you a big player in this space. We're a very fragmented industry, so if you have 53 properties, you're a big player, right? And so talk to us about what you saw with Rick and his team and how this conversation even moved into a business deal.
Well, Rick and Jason Harshbarger, another owner in the new GreatLIFE, played golf together in an industry event. I'd like to say it's an NGCOA event. I don't know. It was about 8 years ago, but it was either golfing, NGCOA, or one of those events. They really hit it off, got along, and we developed a professional relationship, just staying in touch with what Rick was doing with GreatLIFE and what we were doing with Brown Golf. A lot of camaraderie between the two parties. Really enjoyed getting to know what he was doing in his business and learning from him. And when the time was right, about a year ago, Rick reached out and he said, myself and our 2 business partners are looking for a company to potentially partner with There's different reasons why, but at the end of the day, we're looking for a company that's got a great built out infrastructure, and we believe is the right company to partner with into the future. And really the merger happened really for two reasons. One, let's come in, use our infrastructure to secure the GreatLIFE assets, obviously, number one. And number two was let's get creative, use our collective experience, and go out and find new golf course opportunities. And I'm really excited about that aspect of it, because we've really come from an angle of how do you make a golf course self-sustain when you're in the lease world? You got to drive cash flow, you got to watch expenses, you got to invest as much CapEx as you can afford. But really on the GreatLIFE side, they've got a different model. I think Rick obviously developed the golf and fitness model, which was innovative at its time. And then really his portfolio in Kansas City with his new partners, they've gone into some facilities, invested big capital, and really changed the dynamic of what the club was in the marketplace, and really elevated a couple of their Kansas City facilities. So I think we're going to have a lot of different backgrounds to pull from when we're looking at golf course opportunities, and it's just an exciting time.
Let me ask you about so a golf course opportunity. You know, I sometimes when you see purchases happen, it's either because they've identified an underutilized asset. Wow, look, I can do better with this, right? Or it's because it's a successful business and you're buying their successful net income, in cash, right? So it's usually you're buying something not successful or something super successful, and it's the middle stuff that maybe doesn't get purchased all the time. But so, what will you be looking for in this case? Are you looking for great cash flow properties, or the ones that are underutilized that you think you can do a lot better with?
What we're looking for and have been looking for is those opportunities where maybe the business is operating to what they think is the highest level standard that has traditionally been available in the industry. And we want to come in and really revamp some of those industry norms. One is third-party aggregators, of course, without a doubt. There's many multi-course operators out there. Some are great. Some are more the perception of value than maybe the actuality of value. And really, how can we come in and really be transparent with the golf course owner and make sure they understand what we're doing as a business? Those are both opportunities for us. But really, at the end of the day, it's about building your own golf community, which obviously I know you two are aware of the technology brand GolfBack that we've built. But GolfBack is all about building your own internal community, creating automation so you're collecting your customers' data, so that you're marketing to your customers, so that you're driving your dynamic pricing opportunities, pricing your premium windows the right way. So that's where we have come and looked and found opportunities from a Brown Golf perspective, and what we will look for in a GreatLIFE perspective as well. What's really exciting is really what GreatLIFE has done as well, which is if you're in a great market, you're a half-decent club, but for whatever reason, you just haven't achieved the success you can because maybe you haven't made the right business decisions or you haven't invested the CapEx, we can come in with a great business plan, elevate your model, invest the necessary capital, and really produce a great, wonderful asset and community, which is something that is somewhat new to what we've done traditionally in Brown Golf, but I'm excited about those opportunities as well. So both of those arenas is what we're looking for.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that capital that you're talking about, right? If you're coming into a property, either you're sitting on capital because of investment, or you might need to go out there to the market to borrow some capital, right? So in this case, maybe Lee, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, with the rising interest rates, and now we're going to begin to a point where to me, it feels, I don't know economics that well enough to the interest rates keep going up, then that means I'm less likely to borrow and invest in the things that I want to do. And I've got some personal projects along those lines. As interest rates go up, it kind of prices me out of some things that I want to invest in and do that I might have to borrow. Looking at the golf industry in this case, when you're purchasing properties or wanting to invest in smaller projects, what do you see as the outlook here? If interest rates keep going up, what are course owners or buyers supposed to do, or how do they look at this market now?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's something that we at Brown Golf had been planning for since I joined the organization several years ago. Our model was, save for the next opportunity that comes along, and I think that's paid off, not only in the acquisition that we did with Carolina National, but also in this merger with GreatLIFE. We have saved some money, but at the same time, we have borrowed some, and those rates are going to increase over time. And so we have to use that money smartly, right? It's no longer the case of going out to the banks and they're going to loan you money at 4% or less. It's actually increasing. I think that the last mortgage numbers that I saw were at 6.25%, which in January was just peaking a little over 3%. So there are some decisions that will have to be made, not only on the do I borrow money or not, but how do I borrow that money? Do I put it on a line? Do I term it? Do I borrow money for the short term and maybe do some variable pricing? It's things that we discuss on a regular basis at Brown Golf, and we'll continue to discuss it at GreatLIFE. I think that anyone who's in the business today that is able to save for the future should put some money aside. There are some decisions that will also need to be made regarding financing on equipment that ultimately, the course itself needs to take a close look at what they can do in the meantime, or how they can extend the life of some of their equipment.
Do you think because, golf's star is shining again, the past couple of years, do you think that that's having an impact on the financing world and how they approach the industry? Because from what I could tell, there's been a long period of time where major banks and finance were like, I don't want to touch this, right? And so are we in a different place now? Even with the higher interest rates, that's one thing. But the look at golf, is it more attractive as a potential, from an underwriting standpoint? Are we in a good place for financing?
So you mentioned big banks, and I think that for us, the experience has been, I'm on the board of a bank, by the way. So for us, the experience has been the regional banks, the ones that understand the industry, that are living within that community, know a little bit more about what the pains and struggles and or the possible profit is on the golf courses in their region. The larger banks, there are some that do recognize and do give us the time of day when we go to talk to them about golf courses. But at the end of the day, I think it's look at your relationships that you might have that you maybe haven't called upon in the recent past. Definitely take into account that golf is currently at an all-time high, right? I was reading some reports about the number of players that have joined. And interestingly enough, I know quite a few people that young kids that used to play basketball and baseball and football, and through the pandemic transitioned into golf. So I do think the word's out, golf is doing well, but use your relationships, talk to your local banks, and then ultimately reach out to those larger banks that are also have a presence in your area.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think it's always been the smaller community banks that like to work with the smaller businesses too. So always look to that community. So we got a couple comments here I wanted to surface. Don, did you have something you want to add?
Oh, you can cover the comments first, and then I'll ask a question.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We got this. We've got David Lepore Golf. Love the podcast, Jay and Don. John and Lee, how are you growing the game and creating relationships and revenue at your facilities?
I can take that. Well, Don obviously mentioned that he's building out a Toptracer at his golf course. We're building one out at one of our golf courses as well. So we believe developing players and that inroad into your tee sheet is one way to grow the game. Operation 36 is a great program out there, which I know a lot of people are familiar with. We do that at a couple of our golf courses. Innovative way to introduce the game to new golfers. Really like the organization, the structure around Operation 36. We have a relationship with Bird Golf, which is a destination golf lesson platform that they'll bring in instructors and players that want to come and learn about the game at your facility as well. That's a great relationship that we have. I encourage you to look them up. Overall, I think it's just a commitment to growing the game and how you build those inroads. But those are just a couple of things we're doing at our clubs, in addition to the traditional programming, right? Junior programming and things that your head golf professional may be doing at your golf facility. But a couple of things that I'd suggest looking at: Bird Golf and obviously Toptracer.
Good stuff. We have JMC Productions here. When you grow and expand, how do you maintain that personal touch that's important to retaining your members and guests and giving them the experience they desire? I could see that being a fear factor, and that, oh my gosh, we're going to get swallowed up by a larger company, get managed by a company. How do you maintain or improve some of the soft touches that you assume only come from local ownership and operations?
Well, one thing that's been nice about this merger, it's been a little bit of time for self-reflection, right? So I've been running Brown Golf, and really it's been me and Lee and Jason, and when we look around the room, it's just the three of us, and things are going pretty well. We're making some good decisions, but now we've got 3 brand new partners on the GreatLIFE side, right? And my goal is to really obviously make this company as great as I can. And as we were moving towards the merger, I said, we've got a lot of great data. We've got a lot of great reporting, training tools, but I need to organize this and figure out how to deploy this the right way. And really that took me down a whole different path of building out a new operational playbook, building out a quick guide of resources that our employees can quickly get to, ebooks that people can quickly access, links and resources inside our HR human resources platform. And I think the organization and the dedication to figuring out how you're going to take those resources and deploying them is essential. And, the nice thing about the merger is it frankly just lit a fire under me that we need to do a better job of that inside Brown Golf if we're going to be successful in doing it once we merge the GreatLIFE properties. We're going to launch our operational playbook platform in October, and I'm very excited about, how that will transition down in the golfer experience.
That's excellent. Lee, you mentioned, oh no, Don, go ahead.
Well, yeah, this is a good time to kind of insert it. I love talking about capital, but I'd rather talk about human capital, right? I mean, I represent 28,000 men and women golf professionals, and work-life balance, compensation. These are issues that we're facing right now. And so, you're building your playbook. I think that's amazing, but you don't have to give us all your secret sauce, John and Lee, but what are you doing to build up people to make sure that they feel valued, to make sure that, because we all know that if you feel valued as an employee, the customers feel welcome, because that's where it all starts. So, I know people can make money, money cannot make people, but what are you using? What secret sauce are you using to make sure your team is feeling like a team and that they're staying?
Well, with the Golf Back platform, we've kind of streamlined the ability to quickly, sell tee times through automation and introduce the customer to the property, right? And one of the reasons that we're moving down that road is that I really want to get into an environment where the customer experience is truly automated to the point when they show up on property, there's a digital key to turn their card on, automated beer taps, wine taps. And the reason I really want to do that, Don, is because I want my golf professionals to become ambassadors for the game and really connect with our folks at the site level. We all read that article that came out. I forget the exact publication, but it's basically 100 reasons why a golf professional, is a terrible job, right? Which I hated the article, but there's some truth to it, right? At the end of the day, we've turned them into really administrative and logistical coordinators of our business. And I really want to work towards automation, creating a more streamlined approach to how customers can check in so that our golf professionals can really connect with people, become ambassadors, actually ride the golf course, have a conversation on the 7th green with the group, And I think we might see a lot more work-life balance if we can get to that level. That's going to take technology. It's going to take a little time and logistics, but we are working towards that. We're actually launching, we did a golf course remodel at one of our courses in Jacksonville, Julington Creek. And when we relaunch the golf course reopen in October, we are reopening without a golf shop. It's actually a lounge with TVs. You can get some small bites there, automated beer taps, and really trying to create a more friendly environment. We're not doing away with the golf professional. We're just doing away with, what is traditional in golf.
I like this. That's progress. I really, really like that, because technology is going to have to play a part in the solutions to our employment issues. There's no question about it. Not to replace humans, but to be able to deploy them to, happier tasks and things to do, which usually means working with the customer, especially if you're in the golf business, right? So that's really, really good to hear. Good question, Don. Lee, let's move to kind of the economic, realities that we are living in. We've got, I want to talk about supply chain. I also want to, we've got this looming recession that people are still talking about that's coming. If you're a golf course owner operator, how do you circumnavigate the supply chain issues you might be having? Like Don was having trouble getting range balls, just getting driving range balls. Geez, how hard is that? Well, it's hard, right? So that just things like that. I mean, restaurants are dealing with this. Customers are having to get used to lower their expectations of what they might encounter at some businesses in America, right? So, what are your thoughts on supply chain for a fragmented industry that really can't come together and do a lot because we're so damn fragmented on these macro issues. What do business owners do, in that context? It's kind of a lingering COVID thing for sure, but we've got a recession coming around the corner too, possibly. What would you do if you're, now you are a golf course owner, but if you had one golf course, not 53, what would you be doing right now? What would you be thinking about?
So the good news, well, first of all, there's no circumnavigating it, right? There's preparing for it or planning for it. The good news that I encountered, at least in one of the meetings I had with a very large provider of equipment, I was with them with our director of agronomy, Aaron, and unlike some of the other industries that I've worked in, pharmaceuticals and high tech and automotive, where there is definitely a lineage of who gets parts first, who gets them second, and who gets them third. One of the things that was said in this meeting was that, look, whenever somebody signs on the dotted line that they want something, we put them in a queue. There's no one going in front of anyone else unless, of course, there's a cancellation, in which case then we move to the next guy. So I love that in this industry, at least with that provider that I was talking to at the moment, there is no jumping the line, right? So therefore, what it requires is some planning and some tough decisions to be made in terms of, do I sign up for something that may or may not shift in price based on supply chain issues by the time that I receive it? It's kind of like going to a car dealership and ordering a car and then realizing later on that because of supply chain issues and chips that were in high demand, your car is now costing you a little bit more. So how do you budget for that? Do you put a plus or minus against it when you're doing your budgeting and then going to CEOs like John saying, hey, I may need $1 million or I may need $1.2 million? Well, there's a delta there, but that delta is the reality of what we live in today. So as I said before, I think that it requires just some additional thoughts and maybe talking to your maintenance crew about how we can extend the life, looking at if it is golf balls, because, I know that in 2020 and 21, there was a discussion of a potential shortage of golf balls, and you're living it now. We're living it now. I think that there's just looking for ways to extend that and also providing some additional touch to your customers that allow them, to recognize, if they don't already, that there are those issues that are real and prevalent in our industry.
So let me ask you, all right, so we're in this interesting economic time and you guys now have 53 courses, right? And I don't know if you're on a January 1 budget cycle or how you guys, your fiscal year, but I just put something out on LinkedIn. It's in my recent Golf Business Magazine column about, all right, we're going into budgeting. A lot of golf courses are for next year, right? And the way I look at goal setting and budgeting, at NGCOA or any business, is that usually what you put in the budget is what you feel like you can bank on. Like, I feel like we really can do this next year. That's not necessarily the same as your goals and aspirations. Gosh, yeah, sure. If your golf course normally does 27,000 rounds, I'd love 40,000, but you're not going to budget for 40,000 rounds if you just did 27,000 rounds a year before, right? There's kind of a mixture of aspiration and what you can bank on. So, one of the things I encourage courses to think about, if we've got this looming recession or the black cloud might hang around for a little while longer, is how do you budget, from a rounds and revenue standpoint? What do you put in there when you're talking about performance and what have you? And I said, look, if you budget for 5% fewer rounds next year because maybe discretionary income is going to, be put on the back burner for some folks, does that mean you've got to budget for less money, or is there a pricing philosophy that could be played into here where, yes, I might budget for 5% fewer rounds, but, can I raise my prices by 10% to more than cover that loss, right? So how are you guys looking at budgeting in 2023 for your portfolio of courses, knowing that there's a black cloud that is starting to, show you're starting to hear a little thunder on the horizon here, to carry the metaphor further? How are you approaching it? What would you encourage courses to do?
I'll give you one on the revenue side and one on the expense side. On the revenue side, I think the number one area of opportunity that I see at every golf course that we go into initially is looking at your rate allocation, or who populates your tee sheet where, right? And this means everybody. This means daily fee golfers. This means, senior discounts. This means wholesalers. This means members. What are the rates? How do they enter your tee sheet, and what day part are they playing in? And when you do a deep dive analysis on that, it can really give you some idea of what your pricing ability is, or how you might change certain programs, open up premium windows, create more revenue for yourself doing the same amount of rounds. Like a rate allocation analysis is essential. I've been talking about that for years and years and years at different functions and in different times that I've given speeches and so forth. But really understanding that. And for anyone who's uncomfortable going through that process, I mean, we'll help you out with that process. Just, our guys at golfbacksolutions.com will help you. We'll do that for free for you. It's a great process to go through, and it helps tremendously during the budgeting time to find unrealized revenues that are out there. That's on the revenue side. On the expense side, I mean, get your EOPs fully filled out for the entire year. Understand exactly what chemical and ferts you need on your 12-month cultural program. Early, or order them early. Take advantage of as many rebates as possible. Have them stocked, in your inventories. Be ready to go, because there will be shortages next year without a doubt. Those are really the two areas: one revenue, one expense, that are going to be part of our budgeting process without a doubt this year.
Don, what about you? I mean, how are you approaching 2023 from a budgeting and preparation standpoint that might be different than years past?
Well, I think we've been doing revenue management and all that stuff. I'm telling you, the biggest thing, I have a lot of flags going. There's a lot of alarms going off in my head right now, because we're talking a lot about rates and rounds and revenue. And I think the way that we sustain this is going to be people. We've never done this before. And everybody, when you manage a business, what are the controllables? Well, you can control labor. You can control food costs maybe a little bit, just so that they're not stealing stuff from you in the restaurant. I think we've got a lot of new people in the golf industry right now. They don't know anything about hospitality. They're nervous to walk up and down the range, even some of our PGA golf professionals. I think it is a time to invest a lot of money into people and making sure that they're overtrained, and making sure that they feel like they're supported, making sure that you have enough time to do staff meetings again. A lot of golf courses got away from staff meetings because it was so busy and you didn't know what to do. But that is when you actually bonded as a group, going bowling or doing Topgolf or doing laser tag. To me, the biggest thing that we're going to try to invest in, it's hard for me. I know I'm a golf course owner. I've been trying to save money. I'm with you, Lee. I've been trying to save money for a long time, and all of a sudden I got a bunch of it because of COVID. It's amazing, right? We're doing 10,000 more rounds than we've ever done. And we've done Toptracer, but I know that I have to invest in people. I need to build incentive. I think socialism and salaries are the same thing. We put so many people on salaries that they get paid regardless, and they all think they're kind of, can I say this, getting screwed because they're working 60 hours a week. I think put people back on hourly, building incentive-based contracts so that there are more rounds played, if there are more people taking lessons, if there are more members signing up for your facility. I want to get back to what America's about, which is if you do more, you get paid more, and it's based on performance, not based on if you showed up or not. And I know Kurt and I are looking at our budget at that completely. Minimum wage is going up. To me, I'm not even worried about it. I used to worry about that. I'm not worried about it, because if I'm paying at that, I'm not incentivizing people to do a better job and to grow the bottom line for the right reasons, then I'm going to fail. But I think people are going to help us sustain golf, not programs or pricing.
I would say, following up on what Don said, 9 out of 10 golf courses that we look at for the first time, there is not a consistent staff meeting, which is it seems like it's basic, right? But you need that opportunity to connect the operation together and connect the people in those meetings. You talk about what happened the previous week. You talk about what's coming up. But 9 out of 10 clubs we go into, there is not a consistent staff meeting.
Wow.
I'd like to add, though, that I've traveled with John to several of our courses since I joined the organization, and most recently as well. And one of the things that John does very well is, from the time that we get there to the time that we leave, he becomes part of the staff. He walks the grounds. He talks about, there are too many limbs down over here. When you cut the grass, you didn't blow it over there, or the sand bottles aren't full over here, or that looks, what are we doing here? I love and I hate going to the golf course with John, right? Because he becomes that operator that just can't get it out of his bloodstream. And he points it out in a very, I think, positive way to the staff. And I love that about him. Now, what that does is it also shows that he cares and allows them to give him feedback. Well, this is what's going on. Well, maybe we need to invest in something there. I do like that about him. And I think that that's part of that touch with the people, right? So yes, salary is an important component of it, but also that touch from up above that, when you're visiting the golf course, John does a very good job of that. And so if you're a multi-course operator and you haven't visited your golf course lately, maybe it's an opportunity to get out there and touch the people and talk to them about what's going on with them. Maybe they need a fan on the tee box, right? Or when they the starter box, and that's going to make them happy. I don't know.
No, that's good observation. And I'll close out with this comment here from JG. Don knows what's up. There has been and will be a reckoning within the golf industry, especially golf pros. You know, I think what we're finding is that reckoning's happening now. It's already been happening. Otherwise, that article in Golf Digest wouldn't have been written, right? I mean, so what I'm taking from this in that sense is that the solution is maximizing your people and technology. It's both. It's not, you know, we've always had a technology versus people discussion historically in various sectors around, you know, the American economy. It's both. It's figuring out a way to do both. Have wonderful people, you know, nurture them, treat them well, make them feel part of a team. And how do we utilize the best of breed technology out there to make our operations even better? And the way I see it from the people that I've met at, you know, Brown Golf, now GreatLIFE, you know, between you and Rick and Josh and all the other, you know, you're doing a great job. One of our favorite members, certainly in this organization. And that's why we have you on the show, because we want to dip into that brain and see what's happening. And you can rest assured that we'll have both of you back maybe a year from now, say, how's it going, guys? You know, and, you know, is the love still there? How's performance been? Are you up to 100 courses now? What's happening? This is a great story. So you can bet that we'll follow up. So on behalf of the NGCOA and our viewers of Golf Business Life, thanks for coming on the show today, guys. We're going to end the show now and see you guys next month for the October episode of Golf Business Live with Don and Jay. And again, thanks for being here. And everybody at home, appreciate you watching. Take care, guys.
Don and Jay, thanks. Appreciate your voice.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.